Thanks a lot for getting us all those details. Keep tracking those developments for us. Let's also now bring in our guest. We have retired Major General Rajan Kochar, who's a defense expert, now joining us on the broadcast. We also have strategic affairs expert Robinder Sachdev also joining us. Gentlemen, good to have both of you on the broadcast with us. General Kochar, I'd like to begin the conversation with you first. With the kind of details that we have as of now, it is now being confirmed that definitely a grenade was used. There is also a possibility that probably a sticky bomb was used as well. What does it look to you? What is the kind of pattern that is emerging from the details that we have so far?
Basically, what I feel is from whatever information has come about, this was not a convoy. It was an individual vehicle moving on the road. It belonged to the Rashtra Rifle, which is part of the Romeo force of this area. And it was returning after a road opening party duty. These ROPs are done on a practically daily basis.
Yeah.
Whenever large convoys are moving on the road, their actually duty is to sanitize the entire road on both sides of the road. So there would be a pattern. They would be observing, these militants who would be observing that there is a movement like this happening, and it's a systematic movement. It's a routine kind of a movement which takes place whenever the road opening parties return. So the vulnerability aspect I just want to bring out here is that it would be a single vehicle and it would be easy to target. Second, that how it has happened, what would actually happen is, of course, the NIA would be able to bring out whether an IED was used or some other method, but the use of sticky bomb cannot be ruled out.
Sure.
And why I'm saying that is that when a single vehicle is moving, it would be fired upon because these militants would be in ambush.
Yeah.
And they would fire, and a moment a vehicle is fired upon, the drill is that all those people who are inside the vehicle, they immediately dismount and take positions. And in that kind of confusion, there is a probability that one of the militants would have stuck a sticky bomb there. A possibility of a grenade also cannot be ruled out because
Sure.
the fuel tank is there, and if the grenade lands somewhere near the fuel tank,
Yeah.
the vehicle will get blown apart.
Yeah.
So these are the possibilities.
Yeah.
Point number one, it would be
Yeah.
an ambush. Point number two, it
So
could
you're
be a
saying the
sticky bomb.
possibility of
And
an
point number
IED
three
and
could
a
be a
sticky
grenade.
bomb as of now cannot be ruled out. Also, what really led to this terror attack, whether there were locals involved, whether there was an inside person who possibly gave them access to the army vehicle, all those questions, these remain still answered. But I want to bring in Robinder also in the conversation. Robinder, the timing of when this terror attack has happened, many experts are now saying it's very well planned considering the fact you have the G20 summit happening. So they want to create some sort of unrest. Do you think that explanation or that rationale is correct considering the situation is already sensitive?
Well, thank you very much. A pleasure to be with you. No, absolutely, certainly is. See, either which way, the timing is suspect, either by design, if whosoever has, kind of taken this step, if it's by design, or is it, even if it's a coincidence, either which way, this is making news and visibility and, raising the spectacle or the issue that, Kashmir, there is violence, there is militancy. Now, if there is militancy, that is good news or bad news for us, but for the militants, it's good news because, they're able to bring out the fact that there is militancy because the local populations in Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir are unhappy and they're not getting justice in their own country. So either which way, it's something from the point of an insurgent or a militant, something, and that's what they're looking to score.
Yeah.
They're oftentimes, half the job of a terrorist is to create waves or news that there is terror around, which in turn reinforces the idea of terror. So similarly, I think the timing definitely is suspect. Now, whether it's really by design, if they had the ability, yes, if they were planning
Sure.
out something, then maybe for them it's better to plan it around the
Hmm.
G20 than plan it a month ago or a month later.
Sure.
Correct. So the timing is certainly suspect, and it will certainly, bring up in the headlines, which is what these guys want.
So you think that this is just to try and get some attention at this point, considering the fact there are big events that are expected and scheduled to happen in the days and weeks to come. Major General, I want to come back to you and I want to try and understand as far as the topography of the location is concerned. Initial reports were suggesting that weather could have played a crucial role, that they could have used heavy rains, the vulnerable weather as far as this terror attack is concerned. That's one thing. Talk to us about the topography. How sensitive is this area? How difficult will it be as far as the search and combing operations are concerned? And secondly, I also want to understand as far as this OGW nexus or the overground workers are concerned. This is something that the NIA is also not ruling out at this point.
You're absolutely right. See, terrain plays a very important role, and the selection of a target. If the terrorists have decided to use Poonch as an area, uh, they would have their reasons of doing so, because the getaway is very, very easy
Okay.
and very difficult to catch hold of these terrorists after the attack has taken place. I will take your attention to uh, 2021, from 11th October to 27th October. Uh, our search party there was ambushed by these terrorists, and we lost 11 men. And we carried out a search operation for 45 days. And we could not catch them because of the terrain. It's a thickly wooded area, a number of caves there, and easy to hide, and very close to the border. So what happens is that if you are able to get away even a few kilometers away from the incident, you will be able to make out your way back to Pakistan.
Okay.
The second aspect is that you talked about the overground workers and people. We cannot rule out the connivance of certain elements of the local population here, because any attack which takes place on our soil cannot be without internal support.
Yeah.
There has to be a logistics involved. There has to be a support involved. There has to be a certain amount of reconnaissance and information.
And that
of
is
the
what
target
agencies on
area.
the ground are currently looking into, sir, as well. And that's why we're understanding that these suspects who've been held at this point possibly could be local shopkeepers or others as well, to try and understand if they were the first ones to saw something when this truck actually caught fire. I'll just request our guests to stay on with us. Let's just listen into some reactions and then we'll continue this conversation.
वो आपने सबने देखा, बॉर्डर के करीब है और कहीं ना कहीं तो सिक्योरिटी का मामला होगा. इनको वो सिक्योरिटी चेक करनी चाहिए थी. 5 जवान इस दुनिया से चले गए. गलती तो कहीं है, इसको देखना चाहिए.
बड़ी दर्दनाक घटना है. पिछले कुछ महीनों पहले भी इस प्रकार का प्रयास किया गया था हमला करने का. तो मुझे लगता है कि एक तो जो जवानों की शहादत हुई है उसके प्रति मैं संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूँ, लेकिन अभी उन लोगों को मार तो गिराया जाएगा जल्द, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है. सेना और जो सुरक्षा बल हैं अपने अपने काम पर लगे हुए हैं, लेकिन अभी भी ये पाकिस्तान की तरफ से घुसपैठ या हथियारों का आना जाना रहता है, जिसके माध्यम से कुछ ना कुछ लोग एक्टिव हैं.
प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जम्मू कश्मीर विकास की ओर, शांति की ओर बढ़ रहा. पत्थरबाजों के बजाय अब जम्मू कश्मीर के अंदर विकास की गाथा गाई जा रही है. प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के प्रयासों से आतंकवाद भी खत्म हुआ है और आतंकवादियों की आयु भी कम हुई है. एक शांति का, विकास का और विश्वास का माहौल बना है. ये षड्यंत्र, ये देश को तोड़ने के प्रयास, ये विदेशी एजेंसियों के प्रयास कामयाब नहीं होंगे. दोषी बख्शे नहीं जाएंगे.
Let's continue the conversation with our guest. And Rubinder, now coming to you. Now, of course, as we discussed earlier, that the timing is suspect. There is big events that are scheduled, so they would like to create some sort of unrest, so as sense of panic can be spread across the valley. And this is a very typical pattern that we've seen in the past events as well. But what does it explain as far as the activities that are happening across the border? We already know the kind of drones that are being used, the kind of infiltration attempts that are being made. What is the kind of vigilance amp up that we need to ensure these attacks don't happen in the future?
Well, thank you so much. I think, very plainly speaking, common sense does say that, whatever be the levels of our border infrastructures, they need to be ramped up. Now, I don't know exactly to what level they are and therefore to what level they can ramped up, but the proof of the pudding lies in the eating. So our border infrastructures, and of course, General Kochar would add to it, need to be definitely ramped up, but there are challenges. Of course, we understand. One is the challenge of the entire topography or the geography of the region, right? The mountains, the ravines, the rivers, the jungles, etc. The second are the challenges which you yourself have just now identified, as in the drones and new technologies, etc. How many of such drones and what kinds of drones can be intercept and stop? Right? Anti-drone itself is a new emerging field, and anti-drone technologies, they may accomplish something, but they may not be able to accomplish much also. So, weapons across the borders, drugs across the borders, etc., money across the borders, be it counterfeit money for India or be it in dollar currency notes, etc. So drones are definitely a challenge that we can understand, but there can be other emerging ways and methods which can be used. So one, yes, our border, border infrastructure, you call it, whatever, the wall, if we can, but it's going to be difficult for us. To top it all, within Pakistan, there is so much of, uncertainty, there is so much of chaos currently, and this will not, be solved in the coming years even. The economic troubles of Pakistan, which Pakistan is going through, the anarchy out there, which further seeds militancy, and the Pakistan state wants to divert the attention away from happenings inside Pakistan towards the enemy, quote unquote, India. Right. And to top it all, also you have, and we all have, or perhaps forgotten about Afghanistan. Afghanistan is a no man's and a forgotten land now.
I agree with the points that you're making.
Afghanistan?
All those events also have an impact as far as the patterns that are emerging, and that's exactly what I want to discuss with Major General Kochar as well. That for some time now we've been discussing that there has been a shift as far as the terror attacks and the terror plot is concerned. The locations that they're choosing, the pattern in which they're attacking, and the people that they're attacking themselves. In the past, we've seen a lot of attacks happen in urban areas, but that seems to have changed. They seem to be hiding in jungles. Do you think that's a deliberate attempt as far as the ploy of attack itself is concerned?
It's a very good question you have asked. The counter-terrorism grid of the Indian Army, the CRPF, the BSF, and the J&K police is extremely strong in the South Kashmir area, especially the 15 core area, because that area is predominantly Muslim populated, and more of local support is there for these terrorists. Now, if you look at these areas of Poonch and Rajouri, they are basically Hindu dominated. And here, there have been, in the last 2 years, since there has been an attack in Naushera, there has been an attack in Poonch. So this is the third attack on the Indian Army forces out of the 5 attacks which have taken place after Article 370. So you can see there is a pattern, there is a focus on this area now, because it is possibly easier for the terrorists to operate in this area and not get noticed. Because in those areas of Baramulla and Sopore and all those areas, Anantnag and all those hotbeds, there is a very strong counter-terrorism grid already functional, and a lot of intelligence and information is available in real time.
Okay.
It is these areas which are supposedly less vulnerable as far as we are concerned are being exploited by the terrorists now because they are able to get into this area easily and
Okay.
get out of this area easily. So there would be
Yeah.
a rethink required
Yeah.
by the security forces on how best we
Hmm.
can tighten the counter terrorism and counter infiltration, I would say, actually, because
Okay.
here it is a more of
Yeah. So
infiltration
because this change of
than of
strategies
terror.
happened, possibly a rethink as to how to counter this is also needed on the ground. Unfortunately, I'll have to leave that conversation there. Appreciate both our guests taking out the time and joining us here. We'll keep tracking all these developments